got my side going for clarity. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know what a Zoom audio just stinks, dude. I would think they would maybe get it together, but I don't know. I don't know.
I know it. It's also every time I don't know if I'm the only one that experiences this, but every time I uh go on to a Zoom meeting, I feel like it's like a 50-50 as to if I get in there. It always like
Yeah, yeah.
like I click the link and then it re-downloads the whole app and I'm like I feel like I should know how to do this at this point. I mean, I've been having Zoom meetings for the last like 6 years now, and I still like can't quite figure out like, oh, how to get into it. But
Yeah, no, it's a great invention. I do sometimes feel like Zoom has overachieved. Like they just happen to be at the right spot right as the Pando hit, and they're like, "Well,
yeah,
there's nothing else to use. Skype stinks. Zoom, boom,
yeah,
there it
yeah,
is."
they swept in. Yeah, Skype was a big deal. I don't know what happened to their business model that it worked out for them so poorly.
Good point. They were huge. They were international superstars of tech.
Yeah, they were the like it was called Skyping. Like they had the
Right.
Kleenex effect
Yes.
for video calls, and then FaceTime swept in, which is fine. FaceTime is fine. And then yeah, Zoom swept in, and that's like the Microsoft kind of. I don't know. I liked Skype.
Yeah, well, you're speaking of like batting averages of logging on to Skype. Like when you logged
Oh
on,
yeah,
the odds of it working were like maybe 40% or something. So maybe that's why they took a poo poo.
yeah, that's true. I also only ever used Skype to call. I have family in Australia, and so I had every Skype experience was like marred by the fact that I had to call people in Australia, and it's like my grandfather who I can barely understand anyway. And so I
Yeah.
was like, this Skype isn't working. And then they'd be like, maybe it's just his accent. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you, dude.
it's a
Um,
mess.
well, I gotta say, you're kind of a recent discovery of mine on the Doom Scroll. You're one of my favorite new guys on the internet, and feel like you find a really good balance of like making fun of the internet and how cringy it is and how brutal and cringe social media is, and you really walk a fine line and like a perfectly fine line on the right balance between comedy and rock and roll, and I think it's great.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. It feels sometimes like I step a little too far over the line into the cringe thing, and sometimes I like look back and I'm like, that might have been that's not the
Yeah,
best.
well,
But
everyone at some point on the internet has been cringe. It's just like a barometer you figure out. But I feel like if you're going intentional cringe, which I think you're doing on purpose a lot, I think it's great.
well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun, you know. I like doing the comedy stuff. I mean, like I find social media can be really fun if you just like don't hate the thing you make all the time.
Yeah.
And like that's been the slow journey for me is like trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this thing that's like important for my career or whatever. Um, but also not like despise the creation of it. And I've kind of landed on this thing where it's like, yeah, it's it can be funny sometimes. Sometimes it's just like normal music. And I just enjoy the process of making it a whole bunch. So it's yeah, whatever comes out, if whether it's cringe or if it's not, it's kind of whatever. It's the only thing I know how to make.
Yeah, dude.
So
Well, I mean, your production's amazing. You've just got that dialed in. You're a handsome guy. You got a Superman chin. It's all happening right now. So, what was the projects you did before kind of this Carter Vale project where you were still trying to figure it out? What led up to that?
yeah, it's a great question. I went to school for audio engineering. So I coming out of college, I thought I was gonna I like worked for 2 weeks like making pedals, like making guitar pedals in this like factory thing. And it was weird. I didn't like it. It sucked. The people there were odd. And then I was like, maybe I should just not do that. And since then I haven't had like a normal gig, but like the like music stuff that like didn't really work out up until now was like I tried to be a full-time producer for other people when I lived in Nashville, and like that was cool, but we made, you know, for the amount of time I had to spend on each recording, being a 23-year-old that wasn't very good at it, versus like how much we were making. We were going broke so fast.
Yeah.
And I was in a band called Ladytown at one point, and we were fine, and that didn't work out. And then I was in a band called Parker, and we wrote some cool songs, and nothing really went anywhere. And now I'm doing this, but it didn't feel like, none of it really felt like pivoting. It just kind of felt like falling into the next thing to do. So it's been
nice.
Fun.
Where are you living now?
I live in LA.
Okay. Did Nashville kind of burn you out, or it wasn't you didn't connect with it, or you just kind of, it took its time?
I thought Nashville was super cool. It's like, it's such a small town relative to, I mean, like, yeah, of course it's a city, but it doesn't feel like a big city. Like I grew up in Connecticut, but I spent a lot of time in New York. And so like this, when I think of city, I think of New York. And then being in Nashville, I was kind of like, I was in East Nashville, so it was kind of the suburbs, which was really nice, but there wasn't like a lot going on. And then the music scene there was kind of like, it felt like a really closed loop of like the kind of popular kids that were like the 20 popular kids in town, and then everyone else was kind of didn't matter there.
You were not a popular kid. What was your scene? What was your pocket?
Dude, I didn't leave my house. I just like produced stuff in my room for, I was only there for like 4 years. And so the first year I like met a couple people and we had some fun. And then it was like 3 years of lockdown. And so, yeah, I never got to like break into the scene. I don't think I gave Nashville a good chance, but now I'm in LA and I love LA.
Nice. And what is it about that place, that LA, that's kind of sparked more inspiration? Just more collaboration or sunshine, or what?
I think the sunshine always helps. Just being in a place where like I walk out my door and there's like so much stuff going on has been really cool. I live with like my girlfriend now, and she's an awesome musician. And so that's like, that's exciting, and she's always doing music stuff, so it feels like I'm always doing music stuff. I think it's just how much is going on here. It feels like everyone is working on something here, and it didn't really feel that way in Nashville. And I think that there is like a downside to that, where it's like, everyone's kind of trying to sell you on their latest whatever app or something. And I've experienced a little bit of that, but for the most part, it's just people making cool stuff and trying to make it work.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I get that. Like, really, your environment is really crucial to creation, and I think you want to be around powerful, creative people. You want to be around other weirdos. You want to be around people making records, making paintings. It's just it's the energy is electric, and it can be intimidating, like you say. Like it can kind of burn you out at times. But that's one thing I feel like I've been kind of lacking in my world the last couple of years. And this is not a knock on my hometown of Milwaukee, where I live. It's just a smaller city. There's not a ton of people kind of out creating, working on arts full time or really intensely. So I'm kind of just this little man in my little house in Milwaukee in the middle of winter in the frozen snow. And I make things, but I don't talk to a ton of people. I need to get back out in the world. I'm jonesing, CARTER VAIL.
I feel you. Was that the cause for like starting the podcast, where you like, is that why you were like, oh, let me start this thing where I talk to people?
That was a big reason, dude. Yeah. Like it was a great way to like just connect with people I'd never met who I wanted to talk to. It's got enough of a following where it's like worth people's time. And like early on, it started during the Pando. So it was like prime time to get some bigger guests that usually would have been too busy. And then like, once we kind of got a few of those bigger guests, it just became a little bit more of a waterfall of getting more folks. But yeah, so it's cool, man. Like I told you before, almost every time I'm about to do a podcast, I go, I don't know if I got it in me today. I don't know if my brain's going to work. I should call Carter. I should cancel.
Yeah.
Tell him I got back problems. And but I think that's just that's the human brain, that's the your evil twin on your left shoulder telling you can't do something. It's just like classic internal monologue, self-doubt. And then boom, you push yourself out the door, you push yourself onto the call, and you're so stoked you did, and you would have been so depressed if you didn't do it.
I know
So
it.
starting things, man, it's a bitch to start things, but it's a snowball. You roll it down the hill and it builds, and then it just gathers its own inertia. And that feels like most things in life, particularly creative things, and
Yeah. So you've been doing the podcast for like 4 years then? You said you started during the
yeah, maybe
pandemic?
3. I think it's like 3 years in.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And what was like, so right now I'm in the process of making like a pitch deck for making my own podcast like thing. So what's like do you have any advice for someone that's like gonna start that kind of a thing, that endeavor?
Yeah, I mean, I would get like a Carter Vale fan or somebody to help you just with kind of the production, who can, help you cut up clips, help you just kind of get in that rhythm so you have a template. I mean, you're a master of social media, dude. So, like just having a schedule, maybe you post 1 or 2 highlights a week on Tuesday and Thursday. And just delegating some of that extra work, because you're in your room, your studio, recording all day. But yeah, I mean, I think like just getting people you're stoked to talk to. I know there's been like a handful of episodes where I just put a guest on because they were like notable, or someone told me they were cool, or like, and maybe I wasn't really that stoked about chatting to them. Then I feel like
Right.
that can show through in the episode sometimes. So now I'm kind of on this path where I'm only getting people I'm really amped about. I want to get recurring guests. I think like I want to get people that were great last time, that are funny, and that are great on in a podcast format. Like because at the end of the day, musicians, it's not really, the podcast isn't like their natural medium. It's not like their natural habitat to go on air, be funny, have great stories. I mean, musicians are very
Right.
introverted and weird and neurotic. It's not like having, you have a comedian on and you just know they're going to be able to carry a
Oh
45-minute
yeah.
pod, no problem. So, I mean, yeah, you're kind of this great blend of the two. So yeah, you get it for sure. But what's kind of the premise of your pod idea?
Well, oh, one sec. Let me just make sure that this is okay. Yeah, it's still tracking. I saw some blinking lights over here, and I wanted to make sure
Oh
nothing
God.
got fucked up.
Yeah.
So back in the day when I was in Nashville, I attempted to make a podcast that was, me interviewing people. And I realized that kind of exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not good at like just talking. And like I'd run out of shit to say pretty quick, but this time it's me and my friends are about to start a live play Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which I'm freaking stoked about. Because I've been
Nice.
trying to get them to play for a little while. And now I'm gonna get some cameras set up and like do the whole thing. Which should be kind of interesting, or it's gonna suck. It's hard to tell. But I need to put like, yeah, this whole like pitch deck together. And I'm writing the campaign right now. It's a whole thing, but I'm excited about it. Also, just like I find that having a like a creative endeavor that's not like the thing that I care about most, it has been like super helpful for me.
Huge.
Like, yeah, if I'm just doing music all the time and like that's the only outlet I have, I spin out, I go crazy. Whereas if I do, like if I start getting into drawing, then all of a sudden it takes so much creative pressure off the
Yeah.
music side of things. And so I'm hoping that this D&D campaign that's going to be broadcasted is going to do the same thing that drawing did for me for a little while.
Oh man, it's
Um,
huge. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it'd be
can't
fun.
stress that enough. Like the I've been writing songs my whole life, like obsessively. In the past year, I haven't written a single song, and I've kind of dedicated all that creative juice to painting, working on a book, like podcast stuff. And it's like, I mean, we'll see how the songwriting suffers when I kick that back up again. I don't think it will, but you have to challenge yourself and kick your own ass creatively. Otherwise, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
burnout city, So,
absolutely.
and it's that day and age where it's like there's no rules anymore. It's like you can do whatever you want. You can take risks. You can do projects that aren't going to cost you much or cost you nothing, and kind of release them into the world and see how they do. Oh, this is a question I really wanted to ask you, Carter Vail. Do you now that you've really picked up a lot of momentum on social media, Instagram reels with like little skits, tidbits of songs, teasers? Do you feel imprisoned by the algorithm ever? Are you like, oh shit,
Constantly.
got to keep this up. I got to put out a video tomorrow. I have nothing. Fuck.
I live in a jail of my own creation. It's a nightmare. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pain in the ass, but I mean, I don't have to go to a job, so it's like I feel a little silly being like, oh, I have to make another funny video, right? Because it's like I don't have to do other stuff. Like this is all I do every day. So yeah, it does get a little intense to like think I have to like post every day. But I really like making stuff. I find the like creative process really fun. And also, I do feel like now I'm at a bit of a point where I don't feel like everything I post has to be that good. Like I kind of don't believe in the whole put your best foot forward. Like you got to be putting your middle foot forward all the time.
Quotable. Nice.
Yeah. I think it's like, because for the most part, people don't really realize what's your best stuff. Like that's not what matters. It's what matters is if you're, at least on Instagram and on TikTok or whatever. What matters is if you're, having fun with it.
Yeah.
And so
that's a Carter Vail t-shirt. Don't put your best foot forward. That could be big for you.
You can't be putting your best foot forward. You're not going to take nearly enough steps. So I just make stuff, and at the end of the day, if it's good, that's cool. I put a lot of pressure on like the quantity of output, but I don't put that much pressure on it being my best stuff. And so that's been really nice. I think, yeah, the whole social media game is a challenge. But like the other side of it too is like, I hear a lot of complaints from people, understandably, that they're like, oh man, this is BS that I have to like be a video editor and, skit writer and all this stuff when all I want to do is make music. And it's like, well, what was the plan to make it big before all this? Like so few people got to make money off of music back in the day as well. But now everyone has this little megaphone that they can, try to use. So I do understand that it's a pain in the ass to do social media stuff, but at the same time, it's an awesome privilege to, live in a time where everyone can have the chance to make something happen. So that's cool.
Yeah. So you're almost to the point where you don't think about promotion too much, because as long as you're cranking out stuff, songs, content, that promotes itself. Is that kind of the strategy in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like putting out the music that comes out on Spotify, I do have to promote hardcore because like, I try to do the whole pre-save campaign, trying to get the numbers up on the Spotify side of things. But when it comes to like social media stuff, I don't feel like I need to promote because, I mean, luckily I've already found a bit of an audience where it's like the algorithm kind of kickstarts itself. But yeah, I don't feel like I need to impress people on that so much.
Right.
Because inevitably people are going to see it and hate it, even if it's like my favorite thing. Like someone's going to see it and be like, this is stupid.
Have you gotten any good hate mail recently?
Yeah, I've gotten some sick hate mail. Actually nothing compared to my girlfriend's in a band called Kid Sister, and they're crushing it right now. But the amount of hate mail they receive just as like female musicians is nuts. Like she'll post a video of her playing guitar, and people are like, check that girl playing guitar, and it's wild. But yeah, I get some weird hate mail. Someone a while ago messaged me. They said something to the effect of like, oh, I'm not gonna quote it word for word, but it was some like anti-Asian hate because I guess they thought I looked kind of Asian. And I'm not. I'm just a boring white guy. But they sent a bunch of that shit, and I was like, that's crazy. As a white dude, I've never been like no one's been racist towards me before. That's crazy. So I was like, oh shit, man, I was just a victim of a hate crime. That's wild.
Well, you might be like a 1/32 Chinese or something. You never know.
That's true. And then I can
know?
sue the guy. That would be, yeah, that would be
Boom.
there you have it. No, so yeah, I've gotten some stuff. People like will comment shit and just be like, this is dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've seen today.
Yeah,
Like, that's fair.
We
and a lot of times go ahead.
We played a show at Chipotle, like we bum rushed to Chipotle like 2 weeks
that.
ago. You
I
saw that?
that.
All right. And oh man, people hated me. Like that's the most hate mail I've ever gotten. It was big. And I mean, a lot of it was good. It was clever.
You took someone's burrito, right? It was like,
well,
that snatched a.
Yeah. That was, I planted that guy there. I mean, I never would have had the nutsack to actually take a guy's burrito, especially in like Milwaukee. Like they will kick your ass. Like they'll beat you into a pulp, into jelly.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I can see where people hated it, man. Like we did this at a Walmart a few years ago, and it went off to much better reception. Like people, and then we got kicked out, but people were like into it. It was, I think, the more blue collar places really appreciate that sort of thing. Whereas like you level up to Chipotle, yeah, I mean, people wanted me dead, and I get it. Like if I was trying to plow a burrito straight down the gullet at noon, and some dweeby jabronis were playing acoustic punk in my face, I'd be pretty pissed too. And I hated myself the whole time. Like I didn't enjoy doing it, but we're like, let's do a cringe stunt. It'll be fun. And what the hell else are we going to do on a Saturday?
That's the thing. I think, I mean, I saw that because after you messaged me, I obviously stalked your Instagram. But you got to do that kind of shit. And like some people are going to hate it and some people are going to love it, but you need to like, I feel like you always need to be testing your barometer for like, okay, where is the line for people to fucking hate it? And apparently it's Chipotle. I do feel like if you mess with people when they're eating, that is like a big, that's when people get mad. But yeah, that's what you got to do. I've definitely posted some shit and people like, and like the hate has piled on before. Like one time I did some shit about like those crusty white dogs, you know, the really small white dogs. And I
love like the Chihuahua pocket dogs, like
like the small ones, and they got a bunch of shit under their eye. And I received so much shit for that. Like that's wild shit. But
you wouldn't believe it. But I mean, I'm gonna receive hate mail for what I'm about to say right now. But I mean, if you see a person walking down the street with a dog in their purse, you're like, there's no. You're gonna judge them. You're gonna be this person, you know. It's just you're asking for it. But what can you do? I don't know.
Every time my girlfriend and I walk around this like little reservoir that's by our house, there's a bunch of people carrying their dogs, and like we'll pass like 20 to 30 people carrying their dogs, and every time my girlfriend Sable will see the dog, get 5 feet past them, and just go, unbelievable. And like it's like clockwork. It makes me laugh every time. It's like it's the first time she's seen it, and we'll see it 20 times that day.
Yeah, that's fun. I remember like saying something on the internet or the pod about like not being a big fan of cats because, you know, I toured the toilet bowl circuit for years and they would piss on my stuff, and one puked on my nice jacket. I mean, it would punch me in the face on air mattresses. One popped my air mattress when I was sleeping and I woke up as a pretzel. So, you know, I'm not the biggest fan, but yeah, I mean, people take that seriously. You talk bad about cats in general, they want you dead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, people get weird. People get intense about strange stuff.
Yeah. And who am I to judge? I've never had a cat. I don't know the love and affection that it brings to your soul. So, you know, joke's on me.
Yeah. Do you have any pets?
I got nothing. We had like failure pets as a kid, like hamsters, had a guinea pig or two. Like, I mean, God love them, but my parents were never, they had dogs as kids, and they just never wanted dogs. I think it was just too much upkeep or too much poop to scoop or something. So
it's true. It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, my girlfriend and I have been talking about getting a dog for a little while, and we have two other roommates, so it's not like we're not going to do it. But now we're trying to think of like, okay, what else can we get? Maybe we can get like a gecko or something, or a turtle. And so but yeah, it's kind of like
what about ferrets? Ferrets?
Oh fuck no! Oh my god, ferrets! Oh, like that. I feel
that
like
was so 90s.
Was that a thing? Like people got a bunch of ferrets?
Yeah, when I was a kid, man, I remember people had ferrets. Like every eighth household had like a ferret or two. It was weird, but they were, I don't know, they were fun.
I can't get down with that. Yeah, they also probably, I have to assume they smell bad.
Oh, horrible. You're just, yeah, it's home decor suicide if you have one ferret. Yeah, it's trouble. Oh, let me ask your advice on something, Carter Vail, because I know you said you sometimes you feel imprisoned by the algorithm. Sometimes I feel imprisoned by the road. Like I've made a living just basically for the most part on live shows for the past 10 years. And it's awesome. I love touring. I love playing for people. I mean, it's a lot. It's tons of logistics. It's a heavy load out. The expenses are enormous, the whole thing. But it kind of limits the amount of time I can spend kind of working on social media stuff, short videos, little mini creative tidbits. How do I kind of transition to find a better balance of like being able to be home and just create shit all day so that I can kind of build from my desk, build more of a following from the internet as opposed to schlepping 1,000 miles a week.
Right.
Do you tour much?
I've done one tour, and like, yeah, my band and I have played a bunch of shows, but like we went on one serious tour, serious in quotes, not that impressive. We've lost a shitload of money. But yeah, man, I don't know. That's like it's tough. I think like the consistency thing is huge. I think for me, the like kind of pinpointing what shit looks like what all of your stuff looks like, and like what your brand presents as, which seems like such a, I don't know, it feels like a scummy thing to be like, what's your brand? But yeah, I think like really honing in on what you're presenting and then presenting that all the time,
yeah,
is how it works for me. Not that, I'm not really sure. I mean, the like way that I've survived so far, honestly, is like keeping a super low overhead. Like I have, I got three people that live in my house with me. I always say roommates, but they're not all in the same room as me, so I don't know if that counts.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't spend a lot of money, and so I'm able to do this shit all the time. So yeah, I guess consistency, but that is tough. Yeah, I think that the like creator marketplace has changed a lot, even in the last 2 or 3 years. I feel like the great Instagram in the sky have like made it more difficult for people to go viral. Which it seems to be that seems to be a lot of people's experience right now. Like there are so many people trying to do it now, and to like break through the masses, it's really challenging. Whereas like, I don't know, in like 2019, if you posted yourself singing on TikTok, people would freak out and be like, oh my god, they sing music, that's crazy. And now if you post yourself singing, people are like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Yeah. We've all seen, everyone's seen it all. Everyone's famous. No one cares.
Right.
Everybody's over it. Yeah.
Oh my god. I went to this this like party thing. I went to a Playboy party because my girlfriend got invited because she was going to do something with them. And so like I wasn't there because I didn't get invited, so it wasn't cool for me, but I got to go and that was fun. But everyone there was like an influencer or whatever, and it was the weirdest experience of like everyone in the room thinking that everyone else is recognizing them and no one recognizing anyone, and it just felt like, whoa, this is shit. Like everyone's trying to like see like who's noticing them, and no one was noticing anyone else, and I was like, oh, this is weird, man.
Yeah, well, that's the alternate dimension that you just stepped into, because people have
Yeah,
two lives. It's the physical meat suit reality, and then it's the digital reality. And you're two, I mean, everyone's kind of two different people
totally.
in both. And that's that dark digital abyss when you start spending, I think, too much time doom scrolling or paying attention, or you're a character on the internet and then you become the character, and
Yeah.
that's when, and you don't even realize it, but that's when things can get kind of screwed up for you psychologically. So
Oh,
uh,
totally. You're
I
so
just
used to
think,
people DMing you, and then all of a sudden you're like, why isn't anyone talking to me right now? It's like, oh, because no
right.
one knows you. Like, why would anyone fuck it? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I yeah, just no, you said it well yourself. I just think, like, I mean, who do you want to be at the end of the day? And I think you have to dedicate time, and, as lame as it sounds, self-love to yourself in the physical reality, or shit can get pretty warped. I mean, we all
Oh yeah,
scroll through Instagram, and you see the quote unquote influencer with the smooth skin face filter and the duck
yeah.
lips, and every post is like promoting a product or a giant ass, and it's
It's
like
crazy.
that, like, I feel like there's a correlation between amount of selfies posted per capita and mental health. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like very obvious now.
Yeah,
Where if someone's orange, you're like, you hope they don't kill themselves. You're like, something's wrong. Like, you spray painted yourself orange. Like, please be
yeah.
okay.
I yeah, it's a weird thing, and I like sometimes I'm like kicking myself for being a part of it because I do feel like complicit in all of this. But at the same time, like I think the one benefit, and like I haven't fully thought this out. I'm kind of just spewing right now, but like I do feel like it's lowered and kind of like made the whole like idea of like a famous person disappear, which I think is probably good. Like, because now, yeah, like you were saying, everyone's famous to some degree. And so it doesn't mean anything. Like that shit doesn't matter. And so I do think that to a lot of people, they've realized like, oh, everyone has had a viral moment or something. So like who cares? You don't like the power differential is much lower potentially. At least that's what it is in my head. Or that's what I
Yeah.
hope it is, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe it's made everything way worse.
No, that's totally well said. I think authenticity has like a higher value than ever now.
Yeah.
And the mystique is gone, the whole thing. Like, I noticed, like, I love doing skits. Like, I love writing like improv, just comedic acting, just in my own like cheap homemade DIY version. But to me, that stuff never like does as well online as like the more honest points where there's like a take, or you're being really vulnerable about something. So yeah, I think authenticity is the value of it now is probably at an all-time high, just because there's more bullshit than ever, and
Yeah.
spewing out into the ether and on the internet, you know.
Yeah,
So
and people are so good at detecting it. Like the BS meter everyone has built in now is just unbelievable. Like you can, yeah, I'm always impressed with like, especially young, like really young people's ability to like tell who's fucking lying is
mm,
incredible.
I would think
Um,
the younger generation has a much better radar for that.
yeah, it's like the same thing as when you go to like the Pirate Bay and you're about to steal some shit. Like every 12-year-old knows which download button is the real one. And you ask like, a 50-year-old, they're gonna be like, there are 12 download buttons. I just downloaded 30 gigs of porn. And it's
Yeah.
like they're screwed. But like every 12-year-old is gonna be like, nah, it's that one. And they can't even tell you why, but they just know. They're like, yeah, that's the download button. That's how I get RuneScape.
Right.
You
Yeah. I
don't need to
mean, like,
download RuneScape.
look at our parents now. Like, they lived their most of their lives without internet, and now, like, I have to help my dad. He doesn't even know how to like close a browsing window. He like has a panic attack. So it's like,
Right.
whereas like a little baby is born with an iPad, which
It's
we can
wild.
argue how good that is for you or not, but yeah, they can sure find their way around a web browser. They could probably trade stocks by age 7,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's a different ball game.
It definitely is. Yeah. Positives and negatives. I don't know. It's
Exactly.
all
Yeah,
all weird.
exactly. What do you do kind of for for your own mental health, kind of to keep sane, especially in a wild city like Los Angeles?
In this goddamn city, I I don't have a lot of hobbies. I mean, I make music in my room. I I like working out, and I've been doing jujitsu recently. I'm pretty new at it, but I really enjoy it. Um, Aside from that, man,
Have you got whooped in jujitsu at all? Like, was
yeah,
that a
dude,
sobering? Is that pretty sobering? What's that like?
it's crazy. So like, I feel like, I kind of think that like every guy has like a feeling like, oh, I could probably, like, when it comes right down to the wire, I could probably kick some ass. And then there's no better realization than getting your ass kicked by a 60-year-old that's 45 pounds lighter than you,
Wow.
and just being like, oh, I can literally do nothing to this person. Like, there's truly, I could be in this fight all day, and 10 times out of 10 he's gonna win. So that's been really cool and like super eye-opening. Yeah, because it's just like these like old dudes that have been doing it for 30 years, and they can just, put you into a pretzel, and then, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So now you feel like you have some good like street karate moves if shit goes down?
I think, if nothing else, doing jujitsu, and again, I haven't been doing it that long, so I don't feel like I'm really at the point of being able to like talk about like, oh yeah, fucking when you do jujitsu. But like, I feel like if nothing else, it's made me really, really, really not want to be in a fight with someone that's like just out on the street. That sounds like not a fun time.
With nothing to lose. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. But it's fun. It's a really good time. And there are wonderful people that do it. So it's been good.
What about your tour? You said it was a pretty wobbly tour. You got any good stories from that tour?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like to ask about on the pod, is like, what maybe your worst show of all time or your biggest
My,
meltdown as an artist?
my worst show of all time, I was when I was in middle school, I was in a band called The Basement, and we were about to play the teen center at Trackside, and I didn't realize how important promoting a show was. And so we got to Trackside to play the show, and like in my head it was just going to be like, oh, people are going to be there because we're playing a show. And we showed up, and no one, like not even like zero fucking people showed up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. That's the end of my life. And so that like has like scarred deep down, of like, now I have such a fear of playing a show and no one coming, even though like I've played a lot of shows since, and like very few people have showed up. But like the idea of just showing up and the sound guy is just like, what the fuck, man, is a deep-seated fear for me.
The ponytail.
Yeah, some pissed off guy with the ponytail, smells horrible. So that was probably my worst show experience. But on tour, it was fun. We played with this band. We were opening for this band, Breakup Shoes and Carpool Tunnel, and they're wonderful folks. We kind of got into the middle of the. We like played some places on like the West Coast, and then we went to like Salt Lake City, and not many people showed up, and we didn't sell any merch. And then we went to like Colorado, and not many people showed up, and we didn't sell any merch. And yeah, like the rest of the tour kind of went like that. But it was fun. We just, made $0. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. It was our first like experience, like being in a van and traveling around. So that's cool.
Is that something you could get into more? Are you pretty content on like this structure of like just being home and being able to create constantly?
I really like the being home and being able to create all the time. I'm someone that like, my routine is kind of everything to me. But I do want to do that more. It's just, like now it kind of feels like I need more of a good reason to go out on tour. Because like if I'm gonna go out and lose $5,000, like I can't be doing that. Especially when like I feel like I can be kind of benefiting my career when I'm just here doing stuff like that. But yeah, I do want to keep going out on tour. It just depends on mostly the financial situation. Like that's kind of the big thing.
What's your kind of main mode of income at the moment? Like just royalties from Instagram, or
Yeah.
how does that all work?
My main, I've been super lucky that a lot of companies, a lot in quotes, a good amount of companies have reached out just asking me to write jingles for them and do social media ads for them, and so that's kind of been the main source of income for a while. Royalty, Instagram and TikTok pay so little for like plays. So that's like a little bit of help toward like rent and stuff, but it's not anything substantial. So yeah, the main income is doing ads for folks.
Isn't that wild how like we dedicate our creative souls to like putting out these videos, this content on these platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and they don't pay you?
That's weird.
Isn't like why are we still participating in this rat race? You know what I mean? It's like there's
Yeah.
like three guys in a high tower just like, you lowly commoners will make art for me so I can put glazed golden donuts down my gullet. I mean, it's like a tiny handful of just guys or whoever
Yeah.
making all the
Ton of
money,
money.
all the money.
Yeah.
Well, we're just like, oh, we got to get more plays. We got to get more clicks. If we don't get more likes, and like, it's like, what a treadmill, you know?
Yeah. That's the prison, like it's this, but it's like the same thing a little bit with Spotify of like, yeah, you're not going to make any money on Spotify unless you're freaking Taylor Swift. But yeah, we're still doing it. And I don't know why, but like, I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm not going to stop trying to get those numbers. Yeah, it's weird. I don't love it. I love doing it. And then when I start thinking too much about it, I'm like, that doesn't feel sustainable at all. And then I get
That's true.
wigged
You
out.
can't, yeah, you can't look at the big picture too much, or
Yeah.
you'll have to retire. You know, it's too
Yeah.
intimidating.
I'll just be like, fuck, now I got to get a job because this is too scary right now. Shit's
What
getting too weird.
What do you think about AI? Like, as AI is getting crazier, it's starting to make art now for kind of the
Yeah.
first time. Where do you see that going? Do you think AI is just going to take over art in the next 10 years?
Dude, it scares me so much. Do you see those Instagram accounts that are like just people sharing AI art of like futuristic shit? And it's like their
No,
whole
I
thing is like, oh, I'm a digital artist, and that's just all AI art, and it's like these fucking weird pictures of future people. You haven't seen this
whoa.
stuff?
No.
Oh
So
my
like,
God.
so you mean like someone who's like worked in accounting their whole life is all of a sudden like a great artist?
Yeah. And they'll have like thousands and thousands of followers, which again, like, who knows if that actually matters. Um, but like they'll be like, I'm a digital artist, and it'll be like, like Dolly prompts for like, oh, spaceman in a fucking diner eating waffles. And then people will be like, that's so cool, you're so talented. And that shit makes me like actively angry. I see that and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, you talk about people being able to spot bullshit, and yeah, you're right. I think there is more awareness coming down the pipeline where the mainstream is getting a little more savvy about that. But I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like, at least half the country like doesn't care. Like, they can't
Yeah,
spot like what's fake and what's real and
I
what's a
know.
robot and what's human. Like, maybe if we're lucky, just hypothetically, like, yeah, maybe 50% would be like, let's keep things human, let's keep art made by humans, but
Yeah,
we won't be able to tell anyway. So
I know.
uh
And dude, have you checked out Chat GPT at all?
yeah, I saw that.
So I was writing a song with my buddy the other day, and he was like, oh, let's like just for fun throw in a line, like throw in the first verse we wrote into Chat GPT and be like, finish the song. I was like, okay. And so we did it, and it came back with like not great stuff, but then like one or two lines that we were like, fuck, that's really good.
Yeah.
And then so we did take those two lines.
Oh, you're compromised.
I know. I literally
on a molecular level, Carter Vale.
I'm like slowly becoming a cyborg. And he was like, oh, that's fucking great. Let's figure out how to like maximize, like how we can make the prompt even better so we can get that out. And I was like, look, man, I don't want to get any fucking deeper than what we just did. Like, I feel dirty just being like, oh, this one line, that's fucking great. I mean, it's a really solid line in this song. The fact that is a chat GPT thing. I don't want to get better at using this tool. I want this tool to go away.
Well, your friend, I mean, listen to him. He was about ready to call it a day and like just go full algorithm. Like we got to be a year from like half the planet just being like amazing at art or something, you know?
I know. And like the programming stuff too, you can be like, hey, chat GPT, write me a code for or build me a website. Like, man, what the hell are website designers going to do in a couple of years? That shit is wild.
Well, that brings us to our next topic, universal basic income. What do you think? Like, is everyone just going to get a check from Joe or Donnie Funbucks every month for $3 or $4 grand? And like, what does that mean? More people are going to be making art because they'll be free from the factory, or what? What do you think? Or will we go full sloth and just want to chill all the time?
I don't think anyone wants to chill all the time. Like, no one I know is just like, oh, if I had money, I'd relax. I know if I had money, I'd be going I'd be spinning my wheels just as hard.
Yeah, but you're living in LA next to a bunch of rock and roll super creators. I mean, what about America as a whole? You know, what if you live in Gary and, you know, I don't know, like what?
I have no clue.
Like there's some evidence that like people would say, you know, like during the Panda when everyone got money, like a lot of people didn't go back to work. So it's like, I mean, that would happen probably on some grander scale.
Yeah, I like to believe that people want to do stuff, but I have no clue.
Well,
the whole thing is scary.
At the end of the day, there's this, Carter Vale. I just feel like recently, and for whatever reason, it's been like cool to just assume the narrative of everything's fucked. You know, you hear people say it all the time. It's like, oh man, America's toast, or we're fucked. Like things are like, look at the news, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. But I mean, really, things are pretty sweet. And I think, you know, it's like the consciousness of the mainstream news or media definitely subscribes to that narrative of everything's fucked. So we just, whether we want to or not, we inadvertently get beaten with that narrative. And I think we need to kind of turn things around as humans and be like, and assume the opposite. Like everything's pretty good right now. Like this is a good time. We're in a sweet pocket in history. Tech is amazing. It hasn't fully taken over our souls yet. We're able to fly to other cities like relatively affordably. There's budget airlines that most people can hop on in America.
We're not dying from polio. Like there's a lot of great things.
No polio. Yeah. And you can
or
walk
some
into any
polio. There's
city. Some polio. You can walk into any city in the country and get a bartending job and make 55 grand a year. It's there's a lot of reason to be up. So I guess, I think, I think if you talk about AI and you get down that rabbit hole, it inevitably leads to pessimism, or at least I've never heard of people starting like chats about chat GBT and talking about artificial intelligence and having it end like, this is going to make everything perfect and amazing. It's all like Terminator.
We're good now.
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah.
We've won.
I mean, with life in general, I do feel like shit is like in the short term, there's a lot of bumps, but if you look at like overarching history, we're on a pretty solid upward trajectory, which is dope. But also like people can only reference like the shit that they remember. And so if life feels a lot worse than it did when you were a toddler, then you're going to be like, oh, everything's fucked. taxes suck. I didn't have to do
Right.
this when I was 10. But yeah, I don't know. I'm generally optimistic. The AI thing scares me a lot. But in life, I feel like I'm pretty optimistic about
Nice.
where everything's headed.
It's great to hear that, dude. I mean, you honestly give off a really optimistic, positive vibe. You're a good energy. I mean, and sometimes, sometimes I see someone online and they're like, wow, this person's electric. And then I hang out with them in real life and they're like really depressed and like bummed out. I'm like, that is
Right.
not true of you. You're a positive glow in on stage and off stage. So keep up the good work. Stay pumped. Stay up. Keep making shit. You're doing the right thing.
Thank you. You as well. Keep on stealing people's burritos. Don't let anyone eat in peace ever again. Fucking anytime there's a Chipotle being eaten, I want you fucking there with an acoustic guitar just smashing burritos.
Dude, I'll be there as long as I can start cloning myself soon. We can actually make that a reality.
Oh yeah. Just a mainstay at every Chipotle.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah.
You're a great man, Carter Vail.
Thanks
awesome,
for having
dude.
me on.
Anytime, dude. Thanks for the time. We'll eat some string cheese in real life next time I'm in LA.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, brother. Peace.
Have a good one. Bye.